Dear students, welcome to my channel Dr. V.R. PODILE'S MBA, BBA and Economics lessons. I am doing a series of videos on concepts of national income. In this video, I am dealing with gross domestic product, shortly known as GDP, nominal and real GDP and GDP deflator. Concepts of national income: GDP, nominal and real GDP, GDP deflator. Gross domestic product, shortly known as GDP. GDP is the total value of goods and services produced within the country during a year. This is calculated at market prices and is known as GDP at market prices. There are three different ways to measure GDP. They are 1. Product method, 2. Income method, and 3. Expenditure method. 1. The product method. In this method, the value of all goods and services produced in different industries during the year is added up. This is also known as the value added method. The items included in GDP in India are agriculture and allied services, mining, manufacturing, construction, electricity, gas, water supply, transport, communication, trade, banking, insurance, real estate, ownership of dwellings, business services, public administration, defense and other services. Two, the income method. GDP by income method is the sum of all factor incomes. Therefore, GDP is equal to wages and salaries plus rent plus interest plus profit. 3. Expenditure method. This method focuses on goods and services produced within the country during 1 year. GDP by expenditure method at market prices is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M, where C is consumer expenditure on services and durable and non-durable goods, I is investment in fixed capital, G is government expenditure on final goods and services, X is export of goods and services produced by the people of country, M is imports. GDP at factor cost. The market value of goods and services is different from the earnings of the factors of production. In GDP at market price are included indirect tax and are excluded subsidies by the government. Therefore, in order to arrive at GDP at factor cost, indirect taxes are subtracted and subsidies are added to GDP at market price. Thus, GDP at factor cost is equal to GDP at market price minus indirect taxes plus subsidies. Nominal GDP. When GDP is measured on the basis of current prices, it is called GDP at current prices or nominal GDP. Real GDP. When GDP is calculated on the basis of fixed prices in some year, it is called GDP at constant prices or real GDP. Real GDP can be calculated by using the formula real GDP is equal to GDP for the current year into base year index, that is equivalent to 100, divided by current year index. Importance of real GDP. In comparing one year GDP with another, we face with a problem because rupee is not a stable measure of purchasing power. GDP may rise a great deal in a year, not because the economy has been growing rapidly, but because of rise in prices. In such a case, GDP does not show the real state of the economy. To rectify the overestimation and underestimation of GDP, we use real GDP, which is also called deflator index. Dear students, let us now deal with GDP deflator. GDP deflator is an index of price changes of goods and services included in GDP. It is a price index which is calculated by dividing the nominal GDP in a given year by the real GDP for the same year and by multiplying it by 100. GDP deflator can be calculated by using the equation GDP deflator is equal to nominal GDP by real GDP into 100. Dear students, in this video, we had learned about various concepts of national income, including gross domestic product, shortly known as GDP, nominal and real GDP, and GDP deflator. Thank you.